Recording in progress.
Good morning, members. The chair will join the meeting in the next few minutes.
I think it has joined, yeah. It was wrong, but it has joined, sure. Thanks. Morning, colleagues.
Morning, Chair.
Morning, colleagues. Morning, colleagues. Good morning. Good
Morning,
beautiful
Chair.
South African morning. Are you colleagues good?
Morning, Chair. Morning.
Are you good, colleagues? Are you good?
You hayibusihlalo ukuthenwa fresh kangaka.
Aye.
What's
Fresh.
wrong, colleagues? What's wrong? The chair must always be ready for meetings, and the chair is ready. Colleagues, good morning. My apology, I joined a bit later. I was struggling to connect here. I had to request the technical guys to assist me to connect. I shouldn't have been late. My sincere apology, colleagues. Colleagues, today's meeting is supposed to be a brief meeting because we are not having visitors today, in as far as I'm concerned. I'm correct, Valerie? It's only us, right?
That is correct, Chair. It's mostly committee business, adoption of reports, etc.
Yeah, so this meeting is not supposed to be long because we are just quickly adopting reports and the minutes. So I want to welcome all of you. I wish you good engagements with the hope that you had a good weekend and a good start of the week. And wishing you all the best as we start the week for a fruitful week ahead. So without wasting time, colleagues, I'm going to request that we are meeting, just for record, we are meeting today on this virtual platform on the meeting on the 24th of June 2025 for this meeting scheduled between this 9:30 hour and the hour of 12:30. So I strongly believe that within this time limit, we should have exhausted all items on the program. And I'm going to invite Valerie to launch any apology that has been sent. Any apology, Valerie?
Apologies from Ms. Kobe, Ms. Noluchungu, Dr. Hunsinger, and Mr. Van Staden.
Okay. That is noted. Apologies are read to record. Colleagues, if there is anyone who wants to raise any apology that needs to be read to record, you are free to do that.
Chair, please
yes.
note that I will step out of the meeting around 11:15. I'm attending the memorial service of the former member of the portfolio, Mr. Stolle. Got a memorial service that starts at 11 o'clock.
Where is the memorial service? Just for interest, is
it? It is here in Parliament, Chair. The venue is listed as the Old Assembly. That's where the memorial service is taken.
Okay, those who are in Cape Town should, when we are done, if they have time, do join the memorial service. And thanks for raising it, Honorable Ghana. Thanks a lot, my brother. Colleagues, there you are. You'll be released. At the time when you have to go, you can just indicate you are leaving a sacred, or you can just write in the chat box. It's still fine. And if, okay, it's fine. When we discuss, then we'll load you first if there's certain things that you may want to say, so that by that time you are covered. Is that fine? I hope Honorable Ghana captured what I was saying, but nonetheless, because the apologies have been read, can we quickly go through the report? Who's taking us through? Obviously, we'll take the report. Members would have read the copies of the report, but we'll take you can run through the report. Alma? Advocate Neil?
Yes, morning, Chair and members. Chair, there is our report on the screen. Members have gone through a budget vote report style and our reporting style before. So I'm going to move quickly. The introduction normally just covers the reports that we considered and when we had our meetings, as well as indicating which entities have tabled reports and who have not. Just for members to note, there were 4 entities that did not submit their strat plans or corporate plans or APPs for the year. These are AXA, ATNS, South African Airways and Transnet. I requested reasons on this from the parliamentary liaison officer, and they indicated that as these entities are Schedule 2 entities, they are not compelled by statute to table the plans to Parliament. However, they can do this on request again from the committee, but then also just indicating there in brackets that in the past we have not had this issue with AXA and ATNS. They were in fact entities that normally submitted their plans very early. So this is now a new change since SAA and Transnet has come along. Then also just indicating what documents and resources we rely on for this report. And then we get the mandate of the department. This is drawn from their strategic plan. And members will see what they've been entrusted with has not changed, but we did note that their targets changed with the move from the MTSF to the MTDP, and they've also added an additional program. And then also their mandate has expanded with SAA, SA Express and Transnet having gone to the department. Then we get to the organizational structure. They're just showing the additional program 8 having been added. There's also information drawn from the department strategic plan. We have their strategic outcomes and how they link with the MTDP, as well as the NDP. So we show that table, which is also captured in the department's plans. The specific alignment with some of the outputs to the MDTP is also in here, indicated in here. Now, next table. They have, since the previous tabling of the strategic plan to the most current tabling, just changed in their tables. They had it incorrect as 10 cities, and they have corrected that to 11 cities. So that was one of the changes we did pick up in the newly submitted strategic plans. Then also, I've just highlighted this one section next to the reduction of poverty target. Their new strategic plan does not specify the key outcome for this priority, and it also moved the passenger rail intervention to the MTDP priority above, despite showing the key outcome having been better suited to this priority too. So I just highlighted that for members to note. Their previous strategic plan displayed the table a bit better, in my opinion. But we have to put in this report what they've tabled in their latest strategic plan. So we just put that as an additional note in our report. Then we have the program and sub-program plans with the annual and quarterly targets. So members would have seen this. We see a slight change in some of their targets, where last year they were more heavily reliant on reports, annual reports, being compelled as a target as opposed to specific numerical percentage targets. This year, we see a mixture of both. And members have already touched on some of the correlations and the need for them to align their targets as well as the entity targets. When we spoke to PRASA, members will see that in the rail program. There's the integrated transport planning targets that we highlight per quarter. We will play a role in number 3 here with the transport economic regulators board appointments, but we just need that amendment bill of the committee to be finalized and processed and signed off by the president. The rail transport targets, we have them listed in the tables. We've got the road transport targets. Members will see here their target on the amendment bills for RTO, RTMC, and SANRAL. The annual target is to have it go through cabinet. That would mean by in about 2 years' time, because next year with the local government elections, we most likely won't see the bill, but in 2027, we will likely see that bill coming to the committee. Then there's also the RAPS bill. We're waiting to see the new format of the RAPS bill. The target is for cabinet approval of that for this year. So we're going to be having a very busy 2027-28 with the legislation. Civil aviation, there's 6 targets. The AMSAR bill has been on their plans for quite some time. So we're still waiting to see in terms of their 5-year target, they would like to have it approved and processed through Parliament. But for this year, it's just to get the cabinet approval again. Next is our maritime transport targets. The public transport program targets. The members will see a transport appeal tribunal. This act has been signed off. That is why they only had the noting of it within their first quarter. For the rest of the year, they will have no targets with that, except the work that they need to do to make sure that the tribunal functions and carries on their work. And then Program 8, as members indicated, there's only one target for Program 8, and we noted that in the observations as well. The budget analysis only covers the first 3 quarters. We also have the third quarter expenditure report before the committee today. But we had all that information before we compiled this report, so we've included the first, second, and third quarter expenditure. Members would have seen these in those reports as well, and had the presentation of the third quarter from the department, and seen it in our draft report that was sent out to members. The policy priorities and the alignment, we already had the tables above, so we have a bit more of the narrative in this section that's drawn from the strategic plan, as well as the SONA priorities. We also include the United Nations Decade of Action for Road Safety in here, as we In 5 years, we'll draw to a close of that specific program. And Agenda 2063 and how they link their work up with that, as well as international commitments and agreements. The budget analysis, members would have seen in Dr. Ngezi's notes before the budget presentation. So here we considered the information from National Treasury as well as from the department's plans, and we indicated the expenditure targets for the 5 years. And there's an analysis per program given as well. Members would have seen, although some of the targets in the strategic plan and the APP have been changed or tweaked, the budget allocation was not changed from the first tabling to the tabling currently before members. There's also the inclusion of the budget for Program 8. In terms of the estimates of national expenditure per entity, since we did not have a specific meeting with all of the entities and we only had PRASA, we have a few more recommendations in the document for PRASA, but we do highlight the budgets and the allocations for each of the entities per the estimates of national expenditure. If we do find the time, we would normally advise that we have additional meetings with the entities to have a look at their plans and their budget allocations to the specific programs for the year, and then we submit a supplementary report. But for purposes of the time constraints we have, we focused on the department and PRASA for this one. The observations, I'm going to spend a little bit more time on the observations, because these were taken from last week's meeting. Okay, so we have here the large allocation of funds that are transferred to entities, provincial administrations. In order to link performance with the allocated budgets, the department must make sure that the targets set by it and the entities are aligned, and that they must strengthen their oversight over the entities and provincial administrations. This is a similar observation to the previous years. Then we also indicate the viewpoint here that members raised after the addition of the new Program 8. The department must make sure that their oversight over the SOEs under the portfolio are done, and that the staff movements have been finalized in terms of how the staff were moved from public enterprises to the Department of Transport, and and how that will affect the department's organogram. And further to this, also that the engagements between RTMC and DLCA be finalized to move those staff members. Our next one was that the department, as well as the entities and the board vacancies, need to be filled, and there needs to be monitoring of this. Our next one is on all the different grants. So I've tried to capture it so that we encompass overview of our rural maintenance, or the road maintenance grant, the rural road asset management strategy, municipal infrastructure grant, the extended public works program, as well as PTOG and PTNG. So this covers the transfers, but with a specific focus on the grants, and members will see in the recommendations, we also request quarterly reports on the performance of those grants and those allocations. Our next one is on the different programs that are run in coalition with other departments, like the Willesizwe Rural Bridges Program, Shovakulula Bicycle Project is the department and the provinces. The Shamba Sonke Roads Maintenance Project is with Public Works. Then we also have the Operation Valazonke, the Portal project. We've seen a recent launch of a new app for Joburg as well. And then general Operation Pakisa, Oceans Economy projects. So there, I also linked that up with the recommendation for reports on all of those projects. Again, the regular feedback on the 2020 taxi Lekgotla resolutions, as well as the work that's done on the taxi recap, and the work that would be done by the World Bank with the department on recapitalization program. Then following the discussion with RAF, there was also the concerns regarding their operations and management and how the department plans to streamline the claims process, as well as the proposed legislation that is linked with Road Accident Fund. Then we also have the increase in flood damage to infrastructure, to make sure that the department puts measures in place to ensure that the roads and other transport infrastructure are not adversely affected by this. We have some of the observations regarding PROSA, focusing on the refurbishment and how they intend to use some of these refurbished trains, as well as the views that were expressed that they may rather need to look at selling off of those trains or the leasing of those trains to generate income, or the scrapping. Then the debt obligations of Transnet also in here as one of the observations. The concerns regarding the DLCA, that would cover the card machine, their staff, as well as the extension of the validity period of the license cards, covered in that observation. Again, we look at Program 8 and that they need to expand the targets under the program. Our next one is on the private sector participation. We noted the projects and we put in the concerns raised by members here that it may lead to cherry picking. Sustainability concerns were raised. Efficiency concerns were raised. So we covered all the concerns raised by the various members regarding that project and the inclusion of third-party operators. The 24/7 traffic law enforcement issue is in there as well. The global risks, environmental risks regarding aviation safety, we've included in there as well. The recovery of PROSA corridors and the speed restrictions, as well as signaling, is in 516. And then also the devolution strategy concerns is in 517. So we've tried to ensure that the recommendations are linked with each of the observations above. And I've tried to group our quarterly reports together for specific issues. So the proposed recommendations are that the department must provide quarterly reports on the following: quarterly performance of each entity under the department, as well as urgency oversight reports per entity to address pertinent matters that may arise per quarter. On this, I'd just like to raise to members, we've had similar recommendations in these budget reports and our BRRR reports, requesting quarterly reports on the entity's performance. When the department then comes and delivers their quarterly expenditure report, we hardly ever get all the reports from the entities, unless we specifically call an entity. So we just need to make sure that this is raised with the department if they do fail to submit those quarterly reports that have been requested. The second one, quarterly progress reports on how the DLCA is addressing the card printing backlogs. Then a quarterly reports on to the committee on current figures for passenger trips on the various IPTNs identified in the APP to indicate how close operators are coming to reaching the target set in their respective APPs. Then our next one, given the persistent carnage on the country's roads, the department should brief Parliament quarterly on the National Road Safety Strategy and how the different entities are implementing programs to implement this strategy, along with the expenditure on these programs. Quarterly reports on the use of consultants and indicate which programs or projects make use of consultants, what budget is allocated for the use of consultants, and whether the consultants transfer relevant skills to the employees of the department to prevent future need to use consultants for the same program or project. We include this as a general reporting request. We've picked up in last year's annual report that they increased quite dramatically with their use of consultants when compared to the previous year. So we need to continuously monitor and receive reports on those. Number 6 is our different quarterly reports on those programs. Road maintenance funding strategy, Balazonke, Ulesizwe, Shovakalula, Shambasonke, and then the additional concerns that still remain regarding the Ulesizwe Rural Bridges program are in there. Quarterly reports on the various municipal, provincial, and national projects with specific focus on pothole repairs. And they should also indicate available platforms or methods for reporting potholes to the responsible sphere, quarterly expenditure on pothole-specific repairs, and any public-private partnerships or community partnerships in place to ensure pothole repairs. Then quarterly reports on the filling of board vacancies, so that board memberships are filled well in time to have functioning boards to prevent recurrences of annual report delays, as well as ensure effective and efficient control over fiduciary duty fulfillments in all entities of the department. And then quarterly reports on the filling of vacancies in senior positions within the department and its entities. We normally only get one report per year, but the department has improved in including their vacancy reports for the department itself in their quarterly reports, but we still need them to improve on the reporting for the entities. Then our 6.2 is quarterly reports on the various grant programs, and we request specifics to be covered within those reports, the past 5-year budget allocations to the grants and the expenditure within the 5 years, and which projects benefited from those, and the status of the projects. So we request quite a bit of information regarding each of those grants. Then the department should also brief Parliament on the breakdown of the PRMG budget allocation for the year per province. We've not seen that yet, as well as the annual targets of the number of jobs to be created per province. And the department must provide a quarterly road maintenance report on the national, provincial, and municipal road maintenance work and expenditure. That would include a number of specifics, the location, the sphere responsible for the repairs, the assessed condition of the road, when the last maintenance was done, and future planned maintenance projects. They should also brief Parliament on a quarterly basis on the implementation of the PTOG, that's our subsidized bus service grant. 6.3, the department and the DLCA must provide quarterly reports on progress towards narrowing the backlog of the driving license card production, as well as the process on the acquisition of the new card machine. For PRASA, quarterly progress reports or quarterly reports on progress on the bringing of the full passenger rail service back online, as well as progress on the new trade rollout and depot finalization to store the trains. Within this, it must contain information on the appointment and rollout of the security plans to prevent vandalism, as well as encroachment. Owing to PRASA's historic underspending on the capital programs, the entity should give Parliament quarterly updates on its rolling stock fleet renewal program, the refurbishment of coaches, as well as the upgrading of signalling systems. And then it should also show the budget spent per program, timeframes, as well as progress made, and a comprehensive plan on how they combat theft and vandalism of the rail infrastructure. For SANRAL, we've included this one in here based on our oversight reports, as well as the specific targets that the department included linked to these roads in the APP. So we are proposing that the department and SANRAL brief Parliament quarterly on the progress made on the implementation of the N2 Wild Coast project, as well as the Moloto Road Development Corridor, and that then we specify all the additional aspects that report needs to include. PRASA should also provide the committee within a month of adoption of this report a report on the progress made into restoring all rail corridors and bringing the stations back to full service. They should give quarterly reports on the rolling stock fleet renewal. We have it higher up, but we can either leave it 6.7 here. I'm just going to highlight it because we have it in the upper section specifically to PRASA. So 6.4 does cover 6.7. So that is just a doubling up of that report. 6.8, Transnet, along with its subsidiaries or divisions, should provide a briefing to the committee within a month of adoption of the report from the various boards of the subsidiaries, if they were appointed at that time, on progress to date on the implementation of the turnaround strategy of Transnet for each subsidiary or division, as well as progress made on issues raised by the committee during the February and March oversight reports. 6.9, the department should reach a final decision on whether the DLCA should be integrated or migrated into the RTMC, determine what would be needed to be done in order to do this, and by when this will be possible, and report back to the committee on the final outcomes of this consideration. Then the department should provide a report to the committee within a month of adoption of this report on the devolution strategy and current status of the strategy. And then the department and RTMC should provide a progress report to the committee within a month of adoption of this report on the national rollout of the 24/7 traffic law enforcement shift work. So the committee recommends that the National Assembly approve the budget of the department, and the report is to be considered. So, Chair and members, that's our draft budget report for consideration and input. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much, colleagues. Thanks very much. Thanks very much, Valerie. Colleagues, there you are with the report. And let me thank the team for producing such a detailed, straightforward report. When I was going through it yesterday, I was really inspired, and how you took us through it. It's just quite inspiring because it captures the essence of almost everything that was tabled before us. But without preempting what is the other view of members, let me allow members to speak to the report and ask questions where they want to ask questions. At this point, I don't see any hand. And I would imagine it's because the report is thorough. Alma, you want to say something? You raised your own hand.
No, Chair, I did not. It's Mr. Montana.
Oh, it's Montana. Oh, sorry. Honorable Tsepo Montana. Your platform, my brother.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning to members. Chair, I think let me just raise a few questions. I agree with you. I think let me welcome the report. I think it's a very detailed report. It captures most of the issues that we've raised. I think that there are two specific issues that I think I just wanted to raise. I think the first one, which we raised with the minister when she was there, we and the DG, we raised the issue of public transport, and I see that it's not adequately captured in both our observations, because we did mention the fact that even though there is this public transport PT and what is it called, public transport projects, particularly the 11, it was 10 now. I think the good advocate indicated that they've corrected that to 11, but we indicated that the broader strategy for public transport, including the provision of frequent transport in the rural areas. I think that the minister didn't respond to that, but we raised that issue. So I think it's important that we pick that issue. And I think previously, you'd recall, Chair, that we've been making noise about this issue of public transport. You can have good roads, but as long as you don't have public transport in that way, I think that is you're going to create a problem. So I think that I would recommend that it be captured. Secondly, Chair, in respect of the private sector participation, I think that the formulation, you remember, Advocate, the three specific things we raised. The first one, which we asked the minister, was the extent to which this PSP have actually been costed. I think you'd recall that we mentioned, for example, that even in the budget reviews, the numbers are not there. So we see it as a program, as the activities, but the numbers are not reflected there. So I think that's one issue we raised. And of course, secondly, the one that we are capturing is the issue about some revenues being put aside to be able to sustain, to reinvest in the system. I think that we captured. But the third one related to the operational risks that the private sector would assume around that. So I think that is that's the issue that I wanted to highlight. And finally, Chair, in respect of the what is it called, the refurbishment of the GO program, I think that you recall that there was a strong view, and I think that it's been captured. But equally, there was a view where we say, and I specifically mentioned that there's still a role for the old fleet in the network. And so I think it's very important that we in that formulation we balance. But with all of those, Chair, I think that let me say finally, Chair, that by the way, the starting point of the report, I don't think as a committee we should accept that the entities that didn't submit their reports. In fact, I find it shocking that AXA, I think it recall Honorable Kubeka raised that issue about Transnet and SAA. AXA has always submitted its report. The report, I think, is captured. But I don't think as a committee we should accept that they shouldn't be. If there are commercial reasons or sensitive information, there's a way in which that could be managed. But I think the House Chair, in fact, in the training program last week, emphasized the point. I think the question was asked during the training program, that can entities or department or any entity for that matter of the state say that they cannot table. So there may be reasons, but I think that as a committee we must agree that in principle, because how are you going to assess Transnet if tomorrow the minister comes and say we've got the Transnet financial arrangement bill to address the debt issue? How do we as a committee even deal with it if the strategic plan or the turnaround has not even been discussed with us? So I see we capture it, but I think the principle that we want all transport entities to be able to brief the committee and present their plans. I think that we shouldn't accept what the parliamentary liaison officer has said. And I'm not saying that probably get that information from those entities, but their duty to report, and these reports are published, and where I think sensitive information or commercially sensitive information needs to be protected. There's a way, but you can't use that not to table before Parliament. That's a principle that I think we must also agree on as a committee. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Honorable Montano. Honorable Montana, thanks for that. Who's Moshome's iPhone, followed by, I don't know who's Moshome's iPhone.
No, it's Mutubatse, Chair.
Oh, Mutubatse, you can come in. Honorable Mabena will come in. Then Honorable Maduna.
Okay, no, thanks very much. And thanks very much, Chair. And greetings to all members who are in the platform. Chair, I just wanted to highlight to the committee that we should emphasize the question of rail maintenance, because I think it's good. We must appreciate the good work that is being done moving in a correct direction. But then the safety issue, I'm concerned that it might catch up with the committee or with the department later if we don't emphasize the grinding and the milling, the strategies that should be put in place and the focus there. Because if we don't do this, later we might find ourselves in a situation whereby there are tragedies that might happen. But I just wanted to highlight and remind the committee that perhaps the department should actually be reminded to deal with that particular issue. I didn't hear it coming out strongly. I did raise that question last week when the committee was, the department was making a presentation. I just wanted to emphasize on that, Chair. Thanks.
Thanks very much. I hope colleagues you have captured that point. It was cutting in my part, but I hope colleagues of Advocate Nelly have captured what Honorable Mutubats is saying. Honorable Mabena.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning to all colleagues. I think just maybe one or two issues. On the PRMG, remember when the department came and made a presentation, and I remember the DDG, who's now the acting DG, making the point that a lot of municipalities don't have capacity in terms of that, and that you find that there's someone that's dealing with that component in the province and also in the municipality, but when they go there, that person is no longer there. But I wanted to maybe, as part of our observations, to say that we must receive a comprehensive breakdown in terms of the PRMG, where grants have been transferred for the purposes of maintenance of these provincial roads, that they give us, that the department gives us a report. And then from that report, as the committee, we schedule oversight to go and see what is happening in those areas. But secondly, to say, we're going to receive reports from municipalities and provinces of the roads that they feel that all is well. But I think over and above that, we should also select roads ourselves. I think all members come from provinces where PRMG funds have been transferred to that province. Then we must also go and look at that. And then the second issue on the observations, on the general overhaul, I think when we had PRASA in the previous week, the CEO emphasized that they're not going to be spending an additional 5 billion rands on the general overhaul. And then he also emphasized that they are going to be winding down the assets. And one of the ways that they're looking at it is to sell off these assets to some of the African countries that have expressed interest. Obviously, members have requested a comprehensive breakdown on that. But safe to say that there's been companies, a number of them that have been appointed, and those companies belong to former PRASA senior executives, which generally operate in that GO space. And with the CEO having said that they're not going to be spending an additional 5 billion rands, I think what maybe from the committee side, what we need to get from PRASA is that one, of the companies that were appointed for the general overhaul, what is the scope of work? How long is are the contracts going to spend for, and how much are they envisaging to spend? Because here is where the challenge becomes. So far, 2.5 billion rands has been spent, but the CEO emphasizes that no, we're not going to be spending an additional 5 billion rands as we had set out. But the way that some of these things are done is that a project can prolong. Once the project prolongs, you find that the expenditure on the project increases. So the CEO can come and say, we're not going to spend additional 5 billion rands. But then when these companies say, no, the scope of work due to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're now is now going to cost you 4 billion rand. So we need to get, at least in written form, that assurance, but give us which companies are operating in that space and what are they doing, and also how long are those contracts for. Then the other issue on the, again, which is related to the roads, which has to do with SANRAL. We've got the Moloto Road, R573. It spans across 3 provinces. It's in Limpopo, Mpumalanga, and Gauteng. Limpopo side of things, there is some sort of work that has commenced, but bulk of the work has actually happened in the Mpumalanga province. But the challenge there is that Gauteng was the last one to surrender their roads or to transfer the function of the maintenance of those roads to SANRAL. So one, they perhaps have to give us a breakdown in terms of that and how far those projects are. And also maybe from the committee side, we also have to go and see that. And then as a last one, when PRASA came to the committee, one of the most concerning things that they did say was that more or less less than 20% of the entire network in terms of signaling is digitized. I think as the committee we were in Gauteng and we saw exactly what that means. Perhaps from our observations, we could also add that PRASA must, at least within the next 3 years, give us a plan that would say they want to see signaling at 60% with milestones, but also tell us how are they going to get there. Have they advertised the contracts? Do they have money? Because from the budget that we just came from in Parliament, there was money that was set out for PRASA in terms of what they need to do over the next couple of years, because in that 18.2 billion rands was set aside for rolling stock and fleet renewal program, and then 12.3 billion rands was provisionally allocated for the renewal of the signaling system. So that's where my focus is, that of these 12.3 billion rands, which is set aside for signaling, and we're pushing for digital signaling, because if you don't digitize in that space, we're not going to achieve efficiency. Because also what we saw is that on some lines, they're restricted to about 30 kilometers per hour, which impacts signaling a great deal. And then in closing, Chair, we've got again SANRAL that was allocated 93 billion rands in terms of the budget, and around what they're going to be doing with all of these programs that they are involved in. And perhaps like we did in the Eastern Cape and KZN, we should visit some of the sites where they are, because after we came back from the Eastern Cape, there was an outcry where locals were feeling that, like, a lot of these companies that were working there, even for minimal work, which require no actual skill or you need to be semi-skilled, they were not giving that work in terms of the labor component side of things, not in terms of these entrepreneurs and people who are just sucking the state dry, but in terms of the actual work scope, giving it to actual locals that are there. So those are some of the issues that maybe from there we needed to go and see. But also, this is my last point here, when PRASA came again, and this is different from what it was contained in the budget. In the budget, they said that by the end of the MTEF, PRASA wants to be transporting about 186 million passengers. But I think when they came, they gave us figures where they say that by 2027 and 2028, they want to be at 300 million rands passengers. So I think maybe we just need to bounce off those stats with what is contained in the actual budget and what they have said in terms of what they want to do. But some of the of the things maybe that I wanted to. And then lastly, Chair, the one that is also concerning ATNS.
How many lastly, Mabena?
Chair, I can speak for a long time, but this is the last one.
Yes,
ATNS is quite concerning. ATNS 1, not all is well at ATNS in terms of the expo, the management, and also the general occupational health and well-being of those people that work there. The advocate Zola Majav was recently on TV talking about people there gossiping about each other, and the general morale is down, and that the corporate governance almost has collapsed. So I think that becomes a very dangerous situation where if it can go lower than that, we may find ourselves that we're going to have the first commercial aircraft incident in South Africa in many decades. So I think some of those issues we have to check in terms of what is the board doing, what is the EXCO there doing to address some of those issues, and also are they filling the critical vacancies which exist within that. Thank you very much, Chair.
Oh, thanks very much, Honorable Mabena. Thanks very much. Blose. Honorable Blose. Your platform fighter.
I'm here, Chair. I'm here, Chair. These gadgets
Sleeping.
sometimes they do their own things. Yeah, no, thanks, Chair. Greetings, Slalo. Greetings to the members and everyone on the platform. Look, Chair, mines are quite just a few members have covered the other issues. I have a problem, Chair, with what would seem as a rhetoric regarding DLCA. Because we were there on an oversight visit last year in October, if I'm not mistaken. And some of the issues that we found there and which we frowned upon seem to not have been resolved even up until today. And they are finding themselves in the reports as well as expression. So it seems as if we are just being rhetorical about issues. And there's really not a plan to resolve some of these issues. I mean, when we got there in October, the issues of this machine, which has been operating for many years, which is dying and is causing the backlog. We were told about these things, and we were even told that it's not even the first time that these issues are being raised. We asked about the procurement, and then we were given stories, but those stories still exist today. It's the same thing, nothing has changed. I mean, we are approaching October again, so almost a year even after our oversight. But we are still being told the same things about the same issues. And it just doesn't seem as if anything has been done about these issues. Chair, I mean, I remember we were even called up by the staff members there who were telling us that they've been working on a contract basis for 10, 15, 20 years in DLCA. And when we got to RTMC, we were given an impression that DLCA was going to be incorporated or integrated into RTMC. But the reports is also making the same reflection. So my challenge with this, Chair, is that I don't want us then also ourselves to be complicit of just being rhetorical about issues, and we are unable to emphasize or enforce these critical changes that are needed, not just for the department, but for our people at large, and also for the people, for the workforce within these entities. So some of the issues are there, Chair. They are noted in the report because they are part of our observations. It's part of the things that we would have wanted. But I'm just not taking it kindly that these things now seem to be, of a rhetoric nature, whereby we're just mentioning them just for the sake of them to be mentioned. But there's really not tangible things that have been done. I hope that going forward, after the adoption of all these reports and the budgets, we are able to zoom in very close and make sure that the department actually do what needs to be done. And maybe on the last point, Chair, is the over-reliance on consultants for the department. I really think that the department should move away from that because we are actually unable to see even the impact of these consultants to say what is it, what is their role, and I think the department really needs to come forward and give us, the expenditure, how much actually are they spending on these consultants vis-a-vis the impact, and actually to see if some of this work cannot be done internally within the department. You will find that some of the work that is being done by the consultant can easily be insourced within the departments and within the entity itself. So we ought to get a sense in terms of how much exactly is a department spending on consultant. And instead of decreasing, they seem to be adding more. They seem to be increasing the procurement of these consultants. So the over-reliance on consultants on departments is actually very much concerning. But yeah, I think, Chair, just for me broadly is to say that after everything else, we ought to, put our hand very firm to ensure that everything that we've observed and advised on, whether it's different entities, whether it's the department itself, we ought to make sure that these things are implementable, Chair, and that they happen. So that's when we come back next year, we don't sit with the same rhetoric to say, we've identified this issue, this is what needs to happen, as if we are seeing these things for the first time. When we've gone to oversight, made those observations, and made recommendation that these things must change. But sitting here today, still we are talking about the same issues. 5 years later, we'll still be, just mentioning the same issues as if we never knew what was wrong within these entities in the department. Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you very much, Honorable Blosser. I get your point, and I think colleagues are capturing that point. Honorable Montana, are you having another hand?
Yes, no, just a small technical thing to assist the advocate, because I thought earlier on she used the word depots and storage and everything. So I think for the report, we're talking about depots for maintenance, because depots are maintenance facilities, and for storage we talk about staging yards. I think it's very important for us to get the distinctions right. Thank you.
Okay. Advocate Nell, you got that, ne?
Yes,
Maintenance
Chair,
depots and staging yards.
yes, depots are for maintenance and staging yards are for storage, Chair. I have that, as well as the input from members.
Yeah.
Chair, we will make those additions and corrections.
Before you respond, I see Maduna. Oh, it's fine. I thought he has a hand, but
No,
I
I had
think
a
he has
hand.
dropped it. Yeah.
I had a hand, Chair.
I want to close this aspect now. I want Advocate Nell to come in so that we close this aspect now.
Oh, okay, Chair. No, I'll be short as well, Chair. I think, good morning, Chair, to colleagues. I think colleagues have covered me, especially on the issue of where the driver's license, where there was a printing. I know, Chair, you were very bold on it, that those people must act and something must happen. I think that's one. Two,
I'm still
the
bold,
issue,
Maduna.
Chair?
I'm saying I'm
Yes,
still
yes, Chair.
bold on the matter.
Yes, Chair. No, and I think something must be done on urgent basis there, Chair, in line with your boldness. No, Chair, I wanted to check because when I look at the APPs as well, I think in line with Honorable Mapena, especially there at where the advocate, because I saw the interview as well, where he was saying that people are gossiping with each other and so on and so on. And there have been issues there. And when you look at their APPs, they don't speak to that. In line with that, yeah, so it's a bit worrying. And yeah, Chair. So I just wanted to speak on that as well. And I think another thing, that one would have wanted to check if they have any, do they have any plan to develop a national registry in order to properly implement the maritime comprehensive transport policy? I wanted to check on that. And also, generally, just to check, Advocate, how do we plan to improve the financial sustainability in order to achieve the targets, especially around the state-owned companies, governance assurance and performance program? I think, Chair, that was just that. Most of what I would have wanted to ask my colleague. Thanks.
No, thanks very much, colleagues. I think I got a sense of key issues that you need us to incorporate, and I think Advocate Nel will do that. I think your views are in order in the main, so we'll have to look into that. Key issues that emerge is that we may have to discuss about ourselves. One is that I'm sitting with a letter from Honorable Hunsinga relating what do you call it? DLTSCA. And I think it's a serious matter for all of us. So he had requested that perhaps we need to call them to come and account. We'll be looking into that particular possibility in terms of our space. We may, at a particular point also, with what you are saying, Honorable Maduna, and what Honorable Mabena has said, we may at a particular time have to look into the possibility of bringing to Parliament fiscal engagement with ATNS. I think it's becoming a rotten potato in our bag. We may have to summon them at a particular time so that they can come and take us through some of the developments in that particular space. The second issue that the honorable members are raising, Honorable Montana, I agree with you that in terms of these entities whose corporate plans may risk their business prospects, we may, of course, have to look into how do we then get them to account on their plans in the manner that does not compromise their business prospects or does not risk their business strategies being exposed to their opponent. It's something that we'll have to look at, we'll explore, we'll look into various possibilities and explore that. I fully agree. Honorable Mabena is right. I think we may also have to zoom into the roads of SANRAL. Have to zoom into there, identify specific roads in specific provinces. We have said when we started, colleagues, if you remember, that we'll have to follow the money. As much as the department, we instructed the department that you can't send PRMG to the province and never follow it. We also would have to then now follow the money through an oversight mechanism. So I agree that as we'll be planning our next oversight when the period and season of oversight comes, we may then have to look into some of these programs that we may have to enter into. ATNS, like I emphasized, we may have really to summon them to come and appear before us. I think there are a lot of things that they might have to tell us. Remember, there's been suspension of the CEO there. There's been a lot of things that has been happening. The GO program, PRASA, I think you have captured the point there, Advocate Nel, from what both Honorable Mabena and Honorable Montana have been saying. So I think all in all, that is that. If you want to say something, Advocate Nel, I want us to close this report. You can say your parting shot, Advocate Nel.
Yeah, can I say something?
Yes, before we come in, Advocate Nel, Honorable Mabena want to add something? Honorable Mabena, quick one.
I'd like to add something quickly as well, Chair.
A very quick one, Chair. Thanks for your indulgence. I've written a letter to yourself, Chair, in March, asking you in your capacity as a chairperson to write to the public protector, to invite her to the committee, to brief the committee on the outcomes of the 2015 DRA report, to give us an update in terms of how far has PRASA actually complied with that report, if there has been any compliance at all. If not, we all know that from the Constitutional Court judgment, the public protector's remedial actions are binding. Then from that standpoint, as the committee, we can now take a step further. But it will be critical and important for us to get that briefing from the Public Protector's Office come to the committee, make a presentation, give us a roadmap where they started, how far are they. But the main question that we want to establish with them coming to the committee, as I outlined in the letter that I sent to you, is to say, how far in terms of the implementation have PRASA actually complied with that component? Thanks, Chair.
Thanks. I think what we must do, Honorable Mabena, with relation to that, because we have been saying we're going to have to fail them. Valerie, what we must do is that as soon as the budget season, this period of budget end, we need to identify a specific date where we'll summon the public protector to come and take us through that. So remind immediately after this meeting, let's liaise with the Office of the Chair of Chairs to look into the program where we're going to fill that request. I think that request is long overstanding, it's long overdue. And the thing with it is that it will then assist us as we move forward when we engage with the PRASA to actually understand where we are. So I think you are in order, Honorable Mabena. It will be attended as soon as. So as soon as we are done, for now, as soon as this period of budget, which starting on the 2nd until when it ends, when we are done with that, as we look into the next program, we'll then have to zoom directly into that particular matter and resolve it once and for all. Thanks very much for that. Honorable Kubek, I'm told your hand is up, Kondo, if you can come in.
Thank you, Chair, and greetings to the House. Just on that note, Chair, while you are summoning people to come through to PCOT, there's an entity, Chair, that I would like us to summon as well. I don't know if it's an entity or if it's a group of people or if it's I don't know what to call them, but they are the NLCC, the National Logistics Crisis Committee, which is supposedly spearheading the direction of entities that fall under our wing. I would like to request, Chair, that we bring those people to the committee for them to tell us who they are, what they do, what they've been doing, and what their plans are, because as it stands, they are supposed to be the people who are giving direction to the Department of Transport as a whole. And I don't think it's correct that we speak to everyone else, but we don't speak to these people who are supposed to be leading the charge. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Kubega, so that I don't assume I heard you correctly when I did not. Which team of group of people are you referring to?
I'm referring to the National Logistics Crisis Committee that was created by the President. Chair.
Okay.
They are called the NLCC. They are the people who are spearheading the strategy or the rebirth of the portfolio of the transport sector in the country.
Okay, it's fine. It's noted. It's a matter that is noted. We'll still have Honorable Kubeka to apply our mind on it, and then I'll report in the next meeting in terms of whether we will have a jurisdiction over that body or not. But I'll consult on that, and then I'll come back to the committee in the next engagement after the budget. When we deal with that, we'll look into the possibility. If we have the powers, we'll then summon them also to come and update us in terms of the work that they are doing and how are they doing that particular work. Is that fine?
Yes, Chair, it's fine, but I would be very troubled if those people would not fall under our jurisdiction, because how can they be working in the transport sector and then they are not they do not fall under our jurisdiction? But Chair, please follow up. Let's hear what they say, and then we'll take it up further once we know issues of jurisdiction and so on. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just saying the issue of jurisdiction because I know it might be a committee in the presidency or it's a team in the presidency, but it's something that I'll have to clarify, and then we'll see how we harmonize, even if they are not necessarily within our jurisdiction. For the purpose of information, as a committee of parliament, we can always request anyone to come and appear before us and take us through. So consider it done. We'll note it, and then we'll see how to then strategize and plan around it. Colleagues,
Thank you, Chair.
I imagine we are done on this one. Advocate Nell, if you can say your parting word and we close this report.
Thank you, Chair. I've noted the suggestions for inclusion into the budget report. We've also noted those areas that may require planning for our strategic planning, which will be coming up in our next term, Chair. Then we can sit out with all the roads and all those issues, but I will include the specific report requests. I will correct the references to the depots versus staging yards. Then, Chair, what I would like to propose is that the report is placed up for adoption with those amendments as captured this morning because of the debate that is coming up soon. Then we will be sure to send the amended report out to members by this afternoon, and then we'll be able to ATC as soon as possible. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Advocate Nell. We trust in you to do likewise. Back to the program. Display what is next. Valerie?
Yeah, are you proceeding with the adoption of this report as amended and as proposed by Advocate Nell, now with those that she read out for the record?
Thank you very much. Can I get a mover for adoption of this report?
Yeah, I move for the adoption, Chair. It's Ghana.
Thanks, Honorable Ghana. I thought you were gone now. Okay. Thanks very much, Honorable Ghana, for that. Can I have a seconder?
I second, Chair.
Honorable Madunas again. Thanks very much, colleagues. This report is duly adopted as our report. If you can send Project quickly another report so that we dispose with it quickly.
Gee, I'm going to do that now. Just a little bit of a slow laptop this morning. Our next one, Chair, we're just getting back to that last oversight report that we've been standing over for a few times. So, Chair, that was the oversight for the end of March with SANRAL and Transnet in KZN and the Eastern Cape. So we have our introduction and our purpose. Sorry, there's just a bit of spacing there. Then it's a continuation of the previous oversight cycle. We have our delegation, purpose of the report, and then the dates on which we did the oversight to SANRAL. We have the background to the project as presented by SANRAL and the different bridge projects. We highlight what they've presented based on their timelines as well as their budgets and their progress to date. Same for Mtentu River Bridge, their milestones that they've achieved and the next planned milestones. Then we've got the N2 Wild Coast Road packages 1 to 7. The different packages with their target dates and their budgets, as well as the narratives for each of the packages. The legacy projects, the IDC funded legacy projects as well, Grow the Growers, Port St. John's Wild Coast Legacy Project, then some information on the provincial roads that had been transferred to SANRAL, the key challenges that they've had with their business stakeholders, and then some information on the specific site visits over the 2 days. Then, Chair, the observations and recommendations specific for the SANRAL section. I don't know why the layout has gone bonkers. Okay, there we go. The first of the observations is that The R61 road used to travel to both the bridge sites needs maintenance, serious maintenance and repair for both potholes as well as improved road signage. We saw that during the drive from the hotels to the bridges. Then SANRAL was commended for the work done so far on the projects, as the implementation had not been without its challenges, but further details were required on implications of the projects should it exceed the timelines and the budget. Concerns were noted with regard to how the project is impacted by cable imports as well as steel supplies and how those challenges could impact the completion date of the project. I do apologize for this layout, Chair, because the different switches between the two laptops have caused this layout, but we will correct the layout before ATC. The committee noted the community development projects as part of the Beyond Roads approach. SANRAL was asked to identify legislative challenges. Members did this with their engagements. The committee noted some communities took advantage of the relocation project and inquired on the norms and standards applied in determining the relocations. Committee also noted remnants of equipment at and near construction site of the previous contractor and inquired from SANRAL on the plans in place regarding these. Clarity was needed in presentations on percentage beneficiation by SMMEs as well as local subcontractors and what the extent was of engagements with the contractors. Committee was of the view that the prefabricated site office could be used as a legacy project for the benefit of the community once the construction was finalized. The entity was asked to clarify whether the work is done with former soldiers or veterans and whether they benefit from these projects. Committee noted the impact of external factors on the estimated completion dates. And they also noted the Sikaba Bridge project alone uses 900 kilometers of cables and 4,000 tons of steel in the construction, and that it is heavily reliant on imports, as well as long distance road transports from Witbank to the construction site. Chair, the proposed recommendations for SANRAL on these is that the Minister must ensure that SANRAL submits quarterly reports to the committee on progress made on the entire N2 WCR project, including specifics for the two mega bridge projects. So we also now have this in our budget report. Then, secondly, submits quarterly reports on the committee to the committee on progress made on all community development projects linked to the project. Submits quarterly reports to the committee on challenges linked to the N2 WCR project, as well as mitigation issues to resolve the challenges. Submits quarterly reports to the committee on any litigation challenges linked to the N2 Wild Coast project. Then, Chair, these last three were just edited and added on by input from Mr. Montana. Submits copies to the committee of the travel demand study, projected traffic volumes and projected revenue generation for the N2 Wild Coast Road to justify the proposed tolling on this route, given concerns raised regarding affordability of toll fees in such an economically depressed region. Then we have a request to submit copies to the committee of the proposed maintenance plan for the new road network being created as part of this vitally important project, as well as quarterly updates on progress made on these roads, and ensure that SANRAL consider alternative procurement measures rather than sticking to conventional ways if it wants this project to be a real intervention, which serves as a catalyst for development and facilitate meaningful participation by communities in Pondoland and the broader Eastern Cape communities. Then we had the engagement with Transnet, the oversight at the Port of Richards Bay, as well as Durban. Some more specifics there from the divisions that presented during our visit there. And the overall corridor performance. Plans to address the long-standing locomotives and the corridor attributes. And the external road infrastructure. Then we have just noted that specific additions there at the Port of Richards Bay, and the visit that we had there to the Richards Bay coal terminal. So that was covered Richards Bay, and then we get into Durban. Just here on the funding, with the proposal we added next to affordable, sustainable, because the question had been asked not just whether their funding was affordable, but whether they'll be able to sustain it. So we're suggesting that addition there. But the Ore Corridor, the Chief Harbour Master projects, the pipelines issues with the fuel, group safety and security issues, the Operations Excellence War Room, and then the specific site visit conducted. So for Transnet, we've got the observations, we split the observations between Richards Bay and Durban. So for Richards Bay, the master plan provides a long-term demand focus on the port, driving its own investment. Entity must be clear on the details of its project that seek to provide solutions and improve performance of all its divisions. Plans linked to private sector participation to increase capacity and attract investment must be clarified. Implementation of the environmental compliance practices and accountability was noted, but it was not clear on the long-term measures in place to ensure compliance. The step in OEM to return long-standing locomotives was noted, but clarity was needed on which OEMs were identified to achieve this. The concerns about manual authorization must be remedied. Progress on dealing with truck volumes, that was noted, but there were still long waiting times. Restoration projects budgeted for over the next 3 years were noted, but no information was presented on the measures that would be in place to protect the restored infrastructure. The capacity on the automated conveyor system was too low, and information was requested from the entity on how improvements to the system would alleviate congestion. Then further amendments that were proposed here. During a discussion on the port master plans in Richards Bay and with the Transnet Group executives regarding the strategic role of the entity as a state-owned enterprise, which includes ensuring security of supply, especially in respect of energy and petrochemical products, concerns were raised with Transnet's drive to secure private sector investors in our ports environment and redesigning ports for this purpose. A view was stated that Transnet seemed to be neglecting a critical part of its role to ensure that through Transnet National Ports Authority, it retains ownership and control of strategic port terminals and storage facilities, which are of strategic significance to the country and advance our national interests. Concerns were raised by members of the committee with the marginalization of local and/or black business. When Transnet strengthens its work with OEMs, it was made clear this was unacceptable. And it was also observed that with the supply of new port equipment by OEMs, Transnet appears to be scrapping assets prematurely or before the end of their design life. Repairs or refurbishment of equipment seem no longer important. We saw this on the number of operational equipment that was standing at the port that either had flat tires or were out of their service or their warranties. Then observations at Durban. The establishment of the war room was welcomed by the committee. Entity was asked whether it has calculations to indicate unit costing to see what it costs to transport freight for each mode over the same distance. The entity was advised to improve on its asset replacement plan. The move to digitization and IT-driven data would show inefficiencies faster than human-based systems and allow for real-time operation progress to be monitored. The entity must ensure it has suitable cybersecurity plans in place. Committee welcomed the strides made by Transnet to ensure that the incoming vessels could all berth at the port and that the entity should improve communication on its improvements and achievements. Concerns were expressed about the instances of theft from the pipeline. Engagement with SARS was noted. It would be in Transnet interest to resolve. Filling of vacancies of executive positions were welcomed. Having noted the number of long-standing locomotives, the committee indicated that Transnet should ensure spare availability. Reducing the delegation of authority would assist in movement of trains, as it would give workshop management authority to take decisions faster. Community involvement in projects along operational corridors and near transit facilities would assist greatly in reducing safety incidents, as highlighted in the oversight visit in Gauteng as well. Questions that were still not answered from the previous oversight must be responded to by the entity in writing. The reduction in investment in research and development and transit engineering remained a concern. Expenditure on legal costs of disputed contract was noted as leakages in the entity's finance that should be addressed. The entity should learn from past failures that caused port backlogs. Now, for the recommendations, the Minister of Transport must ensure that Transnet engages with National Treasury, Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, and the Department of Economic Development to address the policy and legislative impediments that are hindering SOEs from advancing developmental objectives. Engages the relevant cities and provincial governments through whose jurisdiction the rail infrastructure runs to involve them in investing in the rail network within their jurisdictions, as well as finding ways to work with them to eliminate security threats to the rail infrastructure and rail service operations within their jurisdictions. Avoid job losses in the reforms that will be implemented at Transnet. Creates interdepartmental freight unit within the various port cities where TMPA operates that can bundle expertise and act as a one-stop shop for freight-related issues in the cities. Increase the autonomy of the TMPA and streamline decision-making procedures within Transnet. Focuses on the performance of the whole business value chain, as too much focus seems to be on one indicator, such as crane productivity, without much consideration for, and sometimes to the detriment of, other indicators. Undertakes a comprehensive environmental port impact study and implements green port mitigation policies if necessary for all TMPA-operated ports. Institutes arbitration or legal proceedings against companies who fail to deliver on their commitments from contracts with Transnet. Improves efficiencies, economy and efficiencies in the supply chain management process of all its divisions. Increases efforts to secure the pipeline from fuel theft by improving governance structures through stakeholder engagements with the JCPS cluster to protect revenue loss from the pipeline. Ensures that the copper theft initiatives and prevention of illegal connection initiatives are put in place, as it is a challenge in the rail network. And do this in conjunction with law enforcement. Ensure that all of the port managers establish a stakeholder forum, which should include representatives of organized labor, business, and each of the port cities in order to address all the concerns that have been raised in the report. And they should send quarterly reports to the committee on progress made with resolving these issues. Ensure that the Port of Richards Bay and Durban specifically improve its developmental role through robust outreach programs to communities and schools, and a deliberate effort should be made to visit, recruit, and develop young people from rural and farm communities. This is similar to the recommendation we gave for Cape Town. Ensure that the contractors working at the ports use local suppliers as subcontractors and pay them on time. Ensure that the management of all TMPA ports, TFR, trim corridors, and TP consult and communicate with civil society, local business, and organized labor on a regular basis in order to ensure their cooperation with Transnet. Ensure that the management of its divisions develop a corporate social investment program that will focus on advancing the developmental objectives of government. Ensure that the economy, efficiency, and effectiveness of all the operations are enhanced through setting clear timelines within which to achieve the turnaround plan targets and submit quarterly reports to the committee on progress made, and ensure that there are detailed timelines and budget in addressing the recommendations. So, Chair, that was our last oversight report for consideration and adoption.
Advocate Nell, thanks very much. Thanks very much, Advocate Nell. Colleagues, oversight to Transnet and SANRAL, you have seen them, the report properly tabled. Honorable Montana.
No, Chair, just a small thing on the, I think that on the delegation of authority, I don't think it's the right word, reduce. I think that the advocate can find another word, because you recall when the group CEO, advocate Michelle Phillips was presenting, She dealt with the issues of decision making. So we said two things. I think the one that she may not have enough authority. So in that case, we wanted at that level of executives an increased delegation of authority. Of course, that's a prerogative of the board, not our prerogative. But we said a situation where decisions are made quickly, even when that requires quick intervention. So, and then we talk about sub-delegation, because, for example, the people who were dealing with derailments and everything said we had to wait for quite a long while before decisions could be made. So I think that the issue was at the appropriate level of delegation for the executives, but also ensuring that there's also appropriate sub-delegation so that at the lower levels decisions could be made. So I think I think the advocate will have to find the right words, but I don't think reduce, because if you say reduce, then it becomes counterproductive. In fact, you require more board meetings because management, the executives and operational management aren't able to make decisions, as it were. So I recommend, Chair, that when she finalizes the report, she then looks at the right way. I don't think reduce is here. Thank you.
Okay, I think that is straightforward. Honorable members, I think that's straightforward, and this report was straightforward. I'm going to request a mover. Can we move, Honorable Montana?
I move for adoption, Chair. Thank you.
Can I get a quick seconder?
Chair, my hand is up.
Honorable Nkopani, thanks very much. You are supporting. Secondly?
Yeah, Chair, before supporting, and of course I'm going to support the motion, I just wanted to reflect on two things, Chair, on the report. Will you allow me to do that?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I wanted to check on the poor condition of R61 that we found there. Is there any, perhaps, response from SANRAL or whoever that there may be something done with that condition of SANRAL? Then the second one is on the N2 Wild Coast. On the recommendations, there's something that is written in red that was an additional information from a member of this committee, recommending that there needs to be some traffic data collected on the congestion and anything with regards to the traffic or on that new road. But I wanted to check, how are we going to do that, or the entity is going to do that? Because when one moves from perhaps the East London side of the province towards Durban or towards Alfred Nzo, we find that there are two junctions that are giving they lift the traffic. That is when you get to Coffee Bay, that is the Western Pondoland side, they get through the current N2 inland through Coffee Bay side. Also, they get through the Mthatha Junction as well as the Phakade junctions. So now one doesn't get exactly the Wild Coast traffic from that road that is still under construction. Perhaps I think it may be too early for us to request that information whilst the road is still under construction. What we can get is the volumes of traffic that are there on the current N2 inland. I just wanted to raise that, Chair. Okay, I move for the adoption of the report. I mean, I second the mover.
Okay, thanks very much. The Honorable Advocate Nell, you have captured that point from Honorable Montana. From the Honorable Montana, you have already captured Honorable Nkopane. You've captured the point. And the report is duly adopted. Thanks very much. Can we move to the next report? Next report, please, is a set of minutes.
No, Chair, the next report is on the third quarter expenditure of the department. That's a fairly new presentation that was held just a month ago.
Oh, this a month ago. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Is it the last report?
Yes, Chair. After this is minutes.
Okay.
So,
If you
Chair,
could.
yes, this is our third quarter expenditure report. We had this meeting on 20th of May, so it's about a month ago. So we have our introduction, the analysis of the expenditure. Members would have seen this both in Dr. Ngezi's notes as well as the presentation from the department. We have the tables with the expenditure for each program and the narrative for the expenditure under each program. The observations we took from the meeting minutes. So the reports on the program areas were dealing with processes rather than focusing on the impact of service delivery. The reasons for under expenditure and the TRP were noted, and that the program was demand driven. It was not accepted as all unsafe vehicles must be removed from the road. Cost of buying a new vehicle did not promote the use of scrapping allowance, and the department should find a different way to address the unroadworthy vehicles and old vehicles. PTNG allocations showed a massive gap between the larger metros, and the department's report did not explain what interventions were in place to address this. The transfers of grants to agencies and municipalities were noted, but the expenditure reports did not provide an overview of the performance of the agencies and municipalities that received the transfers. So, Chair, this report observations actually shows what I stated in our budget report, that we ask for more information during the quarterly presentation, but we don't always get them. Sometimes they are sent in annexures, but this does not always come clear in the department's presentation. Then 5, the committee noted the continued underspending in the aviation program. However, the committee was of the view that the transformation in the aviation industry was not negotiable, and of the view that access to the civil aviation investigation reports would assist with assessing the state of aviation safety in the country. The committee also noted the underspending in the rail transport program, and further noted the department's report on the program focused more on legislation and did not provide enough information on the trains and corridor recovery. The department reported 124 frozen posts on 27 August, and further indicated that it would review its structure and functions, but not much movement was observed in this. The department was asked to provide the latest developments on the vacancies not filled by the end of the third quarter. And the department's report on the expenditure did not indicate whether a proposal was made for the extension of driving license card validity from 5 to 8 years, the status update on this issue, and the timeframes for implementation. We see the department addressing this, though, in the new APP, so we are likely to see reports on that from the first quarter expenditure for this financial year. So, Chair and members, the recommendations that were proposed and pulled from the minutes through the minister through the department should ensure the following: that the department should provide separate reports on the expiry dates of the contracts of the senior management at entities and submit a plan to the committee to ensure the vacancies are filled. The department should provide the latest developments on the vacancies in the administration program that had been vacated and had not been filled by the end of the third quarter for the 2024-25 year. The department had reported lower spending on the National Aviation Transformation Strategy and should therefore indicate whether it has developed an action plan to address the lower spending on the National Aviation Transformation Strategy. The department should provide an update on the process to fill the Air Services Licensing Board vacancies. Again, this will be a process that will involve the committee to also interview the proposed persons for the board. 3.5, having noted the report on the investigations on fraud and corruption, the department should provide details on the conclusive outcomes and recommendations in this report, such as how many persons were found guilty following fraud investigations, how many sent to prison, suspended, and on the consequence management that followed from these reports. 3.6, the department should provide an updated report on the review of the TRP and its associated issues, as well as an update on the World Bank assistance to the program for the potential increase of the scrapping allowance. 3.7, the department should ensure that the 2025-26 annual performance plan and the new strategic plan would clarify the proposed legislation to be tabled before the committee, that the legislation that affect the same industries such as maritime transport are aligned, whether and by when the national bill would be tabled, and ensure that the legislation affecting the road accident fund is clearly set out as to whether this will be an appeal bill to the current RAF legislation, or whether a new bill would be introduced similar to the previous road accident benefit scheme. This should be an amendment bill. 3.8, the department must provide the committee with a report on whether stakeholder engagements on the national devolution strategy took place and indicate the timeframes for the implementation of the strategy. And the department must provide the committee with a report on what was achieved under the rail program and what plans were in place to improve the performance of this program. So, Chair, it might seem a bit repetitive, but the report was drafted before we had our budget report. But this is the third quarter report for consideration and adoption. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. You are really on duty today, Advocate Nan, and you are really doing a marvelous work. Thanks very much for your thorough reports. Honorable members, straightforward report, reflection of your discussions. If there is anyone who can come in. Honorable Mabena.
Thank you very much, Chair. On 3.6, with regards to, I understand that we're dealing with a report that. Hello? Okay.
The platform is yours, Honorable Mabena.
Okay, thank you very much. So, yeah. On 3.6, I understand that we're dealing with a report that has been long-standing and that we were supposed to proceed quite a long time ago. But in the last, well, in the meeting of the committee, the deputy minister did actually indicate that they are withdrawing. I think it's the rail transport bill, and they are replacing it with the RAPS bill. I'm not sure if it would be appropriate to add that into this report, or we are dealing with what was done then, and then we will we're dealing with it on that basis. I just wanted maybe to add that thing.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much. Straightforward. Next, any end. Honorable Montana, speak.
Chair, I just want to emphasize that the advocate should not forget the point we've made since November, which I think Honorable Ghana has been repeating it in the last two meetings, that we recommend that in future these quarterly reports be comprehensive and include some of the information from the entities. I think we shouldn't forget that point. Thank you.
Okay, Honorable Montana, thanks very much. I think that is also helpful and straightforward. Advocate Nell, that point is covered. Honorable members, I would imagine, Advocate Nell, you want to say something before I call for this? For Movana?
Chair, I will make those proposed amendments. And I also picked up there's a numbering issue on the report, so I will make sure that the numbering is also corrected before we ATC. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Blosser, can you move for me? Honorable Blosser?
We move for the adoption of the report.
Honorable Blosser moves. Honorable Kupega, can you second? Honorable Kupega is not here. Honorable Mabena, can you second?
Chair. Seconded, Chair.
Oh, thank you very much. The report is duly adopted as a true reflection of the discussions in this committee, and it is now a committee of this a report of this committee. Can we move quickly run through the minutes?
Yes, Chair, I'm going to screen share them now.
Treat them as read.
So, Chair, that the first one is 10 June. This was the responses from the Department on the Merchant Shipping Bill. So that's just our members present and absent. The other attendees, the introduction. The committee received the responses from the department, and there were questions of clarity raised. Then we considered our first oversight report, and we put those issues in the report and adopted the report with the amendments. Then we adopted those sets of minutes and discussed the other committee business on the virtual meetings and adjourned at 12:35, Chair. So those are the minutes for 10 June.
Thanks very much, Advocate Nel. Members, their set of minutes, any correction? The minutes of the meeting of the 10th of June.
We move for adoption.
Second.
I can't. Who's moving? Is that Mutubas? Who was moving?
It's Montana.
Montana.
Honorable Montana, yes, moved. Thanks very much, Honorable Montana. Seconder.
Matuna.
Honorable Maduna, thanks for seconding. The due set of minutes is duly adopted. Colleagues, let's move to the next set of minutes. Advocate Nel.
Yes, Chair. Our next set was on the very next day. A very, very long meeting with Road Accident Fund. So the 11th of June minutes. Those members present, as well as the visiting member, the officials in attendance, support staff, the introduction. So Chair and members will see the in-committee deliberations are, we just noted that there was in-committee deliberations. Those are not captured in here. Then the presentation by the Department and Road Accident Fund, as well as the issues raised by members. So we tried to capture the issues with their specific focus, those that focused on the suspension of the CEO, the discovery claims, the building leases, the vacancies, the law firms and processing of claims, court cases with AGSA, statements made to the committee, payments of foreign claimants, the marketing contracts, vetting of acting positions, and then discussions after and closing remarks by the Deputy Minister. Then we have the discussions with Mr. Letswalo and the questions and comments that were raised to him. Then the adjournment at a record-breaking 1:38 in the morning, Chair. Those are the minutes for the 11th of June.
So the meeting knocked off at what time? 01:38.
Yes, Chair.
It just confirms that you are. It just confirmed, Chair, that you are a slave driver.
Am I a slave driver, Honorable Montana?
1:38. I mean, we should be sleeping. We've got families, Chair.
My apologies to our families, honourable members, but it had to be done. I suppose you are moving.
Yeah, I'll move, Chair. Thank you.
Can I get a seconder quickly?
Nkupani seconds, Chair.
Thank you very much. The set of minutes is adopted. Next. Thank you, Honourable Nkupane. Thanks very much.
Chair, the last set of minutes was last week's meeting. Then we are fully updated with all of our minutes.
Last week's meeting, yes.
Last week's meeting was on the department strategic plan, APP and budget, the same for PRASA. There's our members present. No apologies. Officials present. Staff, the introduction. We had the presentation from the department and questions of clarity from members. Then we had the request for outstanding responses to be sent within 7 days. Then we had the briefing by PRASA and the questions of clarity raised by members. The closing remarks and the adjournment at 2:42. Chair, those were the last sets of minutes.
Colleagues, there you go. Straightforward. Montana? Montana? Honourable Montana?
Can you hear me, Chair? Sorry, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying that the only thing that I just want to emphasize, you recall the CEO of PRASA told us about Gibela meeting its localization targets. That's what the CEO said. And we asked him, but what about the industrial objectives, industrialization, the industrial park, building local companies? I think that was the inquiry that we made there to him. So we as a committee or members of the committee didn't confirm. We just need to record it clearly that the CEO said localization targets are being met by Gibela, and we said, but in the context of industrialization, are they meeting their targets? I think that was the issue, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That must be integrated in the minutes. Straightforward. On that note, any other hand? If there is no hand, Honourable Mabena, can you move? If Honourable Mabena has abandoned the gadget, Honourable Malmaja, can you move?
I can move, Chair.
Who are you?
Matuna.
Honourable Ntando Maduna, thanks very much. Honourable Maduna has moved. Who's seconding?
I'll second, Chair.
Honourable Kubeka, is that so? Honourable Talent Kubeka is seconded.
That's correct, Chair.
Thank you very much. The set of minutes is duly adopted. This marks the end of reports. There are two things that before I release you, I want us to deal with quickly. One is that on the 2nd of July, 2025 at 10 o'clock, the minister has invited us on her delivering her budget speech. It will be a fiscal engagement. Colleagues must diarize that. So that will mean it's next week, Tuesday. After this, Valerie, you want to come in terms of the opening. One, it is if you can take us quickly through the public hearings for merchant shipping bill and what we are proposing. And secondly, deal with the vacuum that we have on the 80th of July in terms of our program. That will be a Tuesday after next. Yeah. Colleagues, I want you to pay attention to details here because this is what is going to keep us very, very busy. And we may want your full participation in this one because we must finalize this merchant shipping bill. I think it's long overdue now. We must do our part in terms of finalizing our public hearings. I would want you to pay attention and to devote your time to this because just conducting these public hearings is very, very expensive. And therefore, we can't afford to, it will be costly if we don't avail ourselves to the public hearings. I requested Valerie to table it together with the team, the dates, so that we can look at them and see how we finalize these hearings and so that we are done. This merchant shipping bill now, we've done everything. And when we're done with this, it must just be passed into an act now. That process still to unfold. But I want you to look into those dates, look into how they fit you properly. And then they're also going to be impacting on your weekends because most of the hearings are going to be on weekends. So, yeah, feel free to look at them. Valerie, if you can say something around them. On the same time, after that, please say something about the 1 and the 8.
Thank you. I've indicated to you, Chair, the committee indicated the need to do the provincial hearings on the bill. The program that we've drafted, Chair, it suggested that it starts on the weekend of the 24th to the 26th of July in the Western Cape. I just want to point out and you also indicated the need to cluster these, so we have it put in provinces where we clustered it together, Johannesburg, Gauteng and Northwest Province, Northern Cape and Free State. And you've also indicated yesterday, Chair, that we might have to cluster Limpopo and Mpumalanga for the same weekend. The concern that I raised to Chair was that traditionally these hearings are held over weekends, so it will impact on members' weekends. And starting from the weekend of the 24th, that is the last weekend that members will be in Parliament before the recess. And it's a very, very long term. This one, it's longest that we've had in a few years. So members need to indicate availability for that weekend, Chair, because Western Cape, Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal will be the provinces where the committee will definitely have more than one meeting venue due to them being coastal provinces. Then, Chair, the next hearing it's proposed to be in Gauteng and Northwest. That is directly after the constituency break. Then, Chair, the weekend after that, we propose Limpopo and Mpumalanga. By then, it would mean that the committee would have done 5 provinces. The problem, Chair, with the 26th, 28th September for KwaZulu-Natal up to the 5th of October for the Eastern Cape is that period will also most likely overlap with a constituency period. So members need to also consider that. Then immediately after the 5th, Chair, the committee for that week of the 11th will most likely have briefings by the department and entities on their annual report. So that is a very, very busy period for the committee because of the budget review. 24th of October, not so busy in terms of Parliament program, but the House will be sitting a lot, so because it has to process legislation towards the end of October, the beginning of November. So, this is the draft program. It will need, as soon as members decide on the dates, we will be able to cost it and submit an application to the House Chair for consideration and approval. And once that is approved, we also need to inform the rest of the teams. Chair, just a heads up. This type of program or project involves multiple sections, divisions at Parliament. So these dates might have to change based on the availability of the public education and public participation units, the interpreters, the capacity there, household staff, etc., etc. So yeah, these dates can change, but we would know in advance, Chair. So that is all from my side on this. And then the other matter that you've indicated that I must touch on was, Chair, if the committee decide today to proceed with these dates and the submission of the application for this program, then it means the committee can't continue with the deliberations on the merchant shipping bill. In terms of our draft program, that would have been the 1st and the 8th of July. So, Chair, as I've indicated to you yesterday, that will mean the committee now has 2 dates next week and the week after, the Tuesday, to deal with other matters that members have raised last week in the meeting to meet with other entities as well as today. That is for the 1st and the 8th. The third matter is the committee met on the implementation of the PTNG with the department. And Chair, on the draft program, 15th and 22nd of July was set up to meet with some of the cities on their implementation. So we would need an indication which cities the committee wants to meet now before the end of the 3rd term and which ones to be included later. So that is from our side on the program and on the merchant shipping bill draft program, Chair.
So Valerie, that's the 1st, which is next week Tuesday before the budget, and that's the 8th. We have
the 1st and the 8th. Yes, that's correct.
Colleagues, let's start with the draft program. Are we adopting this draft program? Are we happy? Montana. Ngomban.
Yes, Chair. So my hand was raised for a different matter, but I'm happy and I accept that the point that Valerie made that the program have to change. But I think for now, let's adopt it as a provisional program for the public hearings here.
Thank you very much. Honorable Ngomban.
Thank you very much, Chair. I second the adoption of the proposed draft program, and also encourage members to indicate if they may not be available on those days, but for these dates that are put here, and also that they are on weekends, I think, Chair, is the best program that we have, this one. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ngomban. Precise.
Chair?
Yeah.
Yes, Honorable Chair. No, look,
Chair,
I support the program, but just to indicate, I think personally, or maybe I could speak on behalf of the EFF caucus, myself and Honorable Nochung, we might not be available for the first one, which is the Western Cape, the 24th and 26th July. Because we are going to be at Eastern Cape, the EFF will be celebrating 12 years anniversary, Chair. So that one might be difficult for us, but I think then going forward we should be fine. So yeah, we are 12 years this year, Chair. Abanye basathi one, sazi bayofika, but kancane kancane. So yeah, I just need to make that disclaimer, Chair. Thanks.
I'm more than a century, and some decades. So I'm just saying, I'm more than 110 years.
Chair. Don't enter the Chair. No, don't enter the conversation.
No, my apology, colleagues. My apology,
Chair.
Honorable. Yes,
Leave the battle to them, Chair.
Can you hear me, Chair?
Yes.
Now, I was saying maybe you should note my and Honorable Kubeka's apology, because we have accepted the invitation to attend the EFF's 12th anniversary. So we'll also not be there. No, we are coming, Chair. So thanks So thanks, Honorable Blosso, for the invitation. MK Party will be there, myself, and so thanks very much. Yeah.
Okay. So in Progressive Caucus, is it Tangan?
It's still there,
No,
Chair, full force.
Thanks very much. Colleagues, what we'll do, we'll now, you have heard what Valerie has said. We'll now look into our programs and our record and look into which entity can we invite on this on the 1st and on the 8th, and we'll communicate in the group. Is that fine?
Yes, Chair.
Can
Yes,
you
sir.
give us permission to do that? We sit with
Yes,
Valerie,
Chair.
the records, and then we recommend that. Then we communicate to you that on the 1st, this is the entity that we are going to meet, given the fact that we have raised issues around it. Is that fine? Including those cities that has to deal with our public transport grant, PTG. Granted?
Granted, Chair.
Thanks very much, colleagues. Thanks very much. If that's granted, then allow me, colleagues, to really appreciate your continuous support.
Before you close, I had my hand for a different matter.
Yes. Okay.
Can I raise it in 1 second? I think the issue raised by, and I think this for information, raised by Honorable Nkopane about the travel study when we were discussing the SANRAL beta. I just want to confirm, Chair, that the studies are done in advance. In fact, you'd recall that when we were briefed on the 7th, when we were in the Eastern Cape, when we were briefed on the 7 road packages, the engineer took us through the study. I subsequent to that sent a question for written reply to the minister, and they replied to me, giving me the details of that travel study. So I want to request the Secretariat to liaise with the parliamentary officer, get that response and share with the other numbers, because the actual travel study details are contained in that response. I've received it, but I think that we can get it for the committee. It's been done, it's there. And I think some of the questions, particularly as we prepare for the debate on the vote, I think that that information is vital. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much, Montana. Colleagues, I think it's just for information in relation to what Honorable Nkopane would have said. And now, colleagues, allow me to really appreciate your active participation in this portfolio and your continuous robust engagements, which keeps us both from chairing the meetings, but also everyone on a check on continuous basis, so that we can fulfill our constitutional obligation of providing a necessary needed accountability and oversight from all our entities. I really want to appreciate our support staff for processing you. They have seen the type of reports we receive here. They make us to sound and look very sharp. We appreciate that, the whole team, and the continuous ensuring that our meetings are without glitches, without challenges. That is much appreciated. Police compatriots, the meeting is adjourned until we meet again on the 1st of July to engage with the entity that we have set aside. Thanks very much. Enjoy the rest of the week.
Hello.
Thank you.
Thank you.